Revelation 17:15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Call halal Yahweh Bashan Awashai Bahasham Rakakudash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, that be like unto the speckled bird, the Israelite foreigners. And to the Akwath that are listening and learning, to you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. And the video that I'm profiling was put up by the brother Nathan Yawasap, and it's called No Honor Among Thieves. And for those of you who may be new to the truth, the 10 horns are representation of NATO. And you're seeing the downfall, the separation, and the destruction of Esau, Edom, who is the so-called white man.
Now the French are fuming. This time it's not the adversary, but 2 long-time allies who have stabbed them in the back.
It's unprecedented, but it's a serious situation because we feel that we are betrayed. It has been done behind our backs. The contract was important because it implied jobs in France, and it was a 56 million euros contract, and which has been done years ago. So this is really something which is unacceptable.
Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
French President Emmanuel Macron is expected to speak with President Biden in the next few days to discuss the diplomatic crisis between France and the U.S. Last week, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia announced a new trilateral partnership. The agreement calls for Australia to buy a nuclear submarine fleet. Australia then scrapped an existing 2016 deal to buy diesel-powered subs from France. The French government says it was informed of the pact just hours before the public announcement, and last week, a French official called the development a, quote, betrayal. For the first time in modern history, France recalled its ambassador from Washington. Despite the tensions, Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison defended the move on Sunday.
And Australia's interests are best served by the trilateral partnership that I've been able to form with President Biden and Prime Minister Johnson. That is what serves Australia's long-term national interests. That's what I think ensures that we can contribute more significantly to peace and security in the Indo-Pacific region.
Ambassador, give us the French point of view. Why is your country so angry about this deal?
Well, actually, for us, it's an incredible astonishment. First, on the 30th of August, 3 weeks ago, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Defense of Australia had reaffirmed their commitment to the deal. While they were doing it, I don't know if they did it out because they were not informed or out of deviousness. Actually, our best allies, the Americans, the British, and the Australians, had been plotting in our back, plotting not only to take the contract, really, which is an industrial loss to my country, but also to kick us out, because the result of this negotiation is, again, not only American submarines in Australia, but it's also a strategic partnership without France. So it's amazing, really, allies don't behave this way. And I think it explains, the outburst of anger in Paris. And I can tell you it's really general throughout the public opinion.
Well, there's a new defense pact in the world here, and the sides are clearly taking place. I said just a day ago this was starting to form, and now we have it. We are nuclearizing Australia. We are nuclearizing Great Britain to a greater degree. And we are not France and Germany. But first of all, let's take Australia for a second. Australia is taking nuclear submarines from us. Clearly, this is in response to the Chinese threat. The Chinese have really cut Australian imports by 30% because they're unhappy. They think the Australians are, well, shall we say, less than appreciative for all the domination they've given their country in the last 10 years. But this goes a lot farther than that. We've questioned here on the Common Sense Show, and so have many other people, why you would lock down a country so completely, so brutally, for 9 COVID deaths. You have more people dying of measles than you do of COVID. And taking reasonable precautions to stop spread is one thing. I mean, we're talking about killing a fly with a sledgehammer here. And I said, it doesn't make any sense, but I have mentioned before with the United States, we had a program called Continuity of Government, we still do, 1950s, interstate highway construction. And what that was about was keeping people off the streets so we could move people on military supplies on interstate highways without obstruction. And now I look at what's going on with Australia, and they're making a positive move towards gearing up for war. That's the only reason you take on nuclear submarines. Are they keeping their people off the streets for this reason? It's interesting to consider, isn't it? Look, I'm speculating here, but like I said, now things are starting to fall into place. There's another aspect to this, too, that's really interesting. Why did we leave out France and Germany? Well, I think that sometimes you have to cut your losses. I talked about this in 2014. I said Russia controls the home heating oil for a large part of the German economy and a large part of the French economy. The French are furious they were left out of this deal. The Germans haven't said anything yet, but they can't be too happy either. And that's because they're pivoting towards Russia. Russia has them where they want them. And I did a piece on this earlier yesterday where I said Russia is beginning to dominate Germany and France. And I think this is why we left them out of the nuclear deal. We don't trust that they're not going to flip sides. We're looking at the end of NATO, folks. There's no question about that. We're going in different directions. Great Britain has cast their lot with Western nations. Germany and France, I'm not so sure. This is really an interesting time that we live in right now. So we've got the lockdown in Australia, then we get the nuclearization of their naval fleet with nuclear submarines. Then we get the French and Germans being left out of the deal, but the Brits are in, and the French are furious. And we know Russia controls the home heating oil for France and Germany. Could you really come up with anything better than what I'm saying? To me, this is a really easy dot connecting exercise. But what we're seeing are the forces lining up. And you know what's really interesting is we could be facing off against the French. The Germans, it doesn't surprise me. We've done it twice before. The French really is surprising to me. It's we live in a different world, folks. We live in a different world, folks.
All the
This is Habakkuk 2 and 1. And I will stand upon my watch and sit upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall say when I am reproved. And Yahweh answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Luke 11:17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house falleth. Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, is divided against himself, as the prophecies have said. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. And they that eat bread, they that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. You're finished, Esau. Call halal Yahweh Shem Shai by Hashem Rakak Badash. Wa Ababa Ball. Kwam Yasharala.